Hey guys, this is Apiwe Magengelele. We are still continuing with our discussion on the effective ways of getting the job that you have applied for, or the one that you're going to apply for. We on part one we discussed the process of designing CVs, and I mentioned the things that you really need to add on your CV and those that you need to cut out of your CV. Now they've actually shortlisted you and they've called you, and I said on your CV, on your personal information there in your CV, you must put in your numbers or email. I'm sure now they would have called you, they would have sent you an email or whatever that they're using in that company. Now they called you. They told you that you've been shortlisted. Your interview is on this date and all that, and they're giving you all the information that's relevant to the interview itself. And let me just mention this. There is a lot of intricacy. With all this process of applying for a job and getting your CV right and the interview itself. It's so tedious. Sometimes you think that you've got it right, and all to find out that you did not do it the right way. Or sometimes when you're not successful in an interview, it doesn't mean that you did anything wrong, but it simply means that there is someone who did better than you. Not necessarily saying that you've done something wrong, but someone did better than you. Now, you must now prepare for the interview. You need to prepare. You can't go to an interview blank. They're going to ask you questions. You must show knowledge. You must show that you your experience. You must show that you know the company. You must show that you have an understanding of the field that you are going to be working in. So it's very important to prepare. What is perhaps a better way to prepare for an interview? First thing, you need to study the company. Go to their website. Look at what the company is all about. What do they do? You look at what they do. You look at their values. You look at their culture. Those are very important things to understand. For someone who's I've been making examples with maybe an accounting firm or whatever, or if you're going to be working in a finance environment, you obviously want to perhaps also go to their financial statements. Just try to get the sense of how they've been performing in the prior years and all those kind of things. So obviously that's gonna get you ready for whatever questions that may be related to the financial performance of the company, the strategy, and all those kind of things. In those reports, you're gonna get more sense of the strategy that they're using to drive revenue and all those kind of things. So it's very important to go to their website. You study about the company. You really get the sense of the products that they're offering as the company. You look at their culture, their values, and all the other the other activities that they do for the community and all those kind of things. When you get to that interview, you want to get there, comfortable with with the organization itself. So those things are very important. You need to nail that one. Nail that one. So that's the first step. Now, the second part in your preparations, you always want to prepare for that question. Tell us about yourself, because in an interview, they're gonna ask you. They're gonna greet you and all these things. And then they first gonna ask you to tell them, about yourself. It's very important to be confident at this point. You must be confident when it comes to telling someone about yourself. It's like when you meet someone in the streets and they want to know you better, and you just in this case it's more professional, and I know that you're a bit shaken and all that. There's that anxiety and all that because of the panel, but you really have to practice that. So now you're practicing how to answer that question. Tell us about yourself. So when they say tell us about yourself, they're not asking you to tell them where you grew up, how hard life was when you were young and all those things. They're not interested in that. They're not interested in knowing about your father, knowing about your siblings, and all those things. They're not interested in that. They're interested in value add. What value are you going to add in this business? So when they what qualities are you going to bring, or what qualities do you have that are going to benefit our organization? They want to know some past experiences. So obviously you bring in those things. You tell them about the qualities that you're going to bring in the business. You tell them about the past experiences. You tell them about your skills. Obviously you can start answering that question by giving a bit of your personality. That's just an icebreaker. Just give a bit of your personality, and then you go deep into things that are more value add. You talk about your qualities, you talk about your past experiences, you talk about your skills. You can include your qualifications in there. Obviously, the point there is that in the end, all these things you're mentioning, they're going to add this value in the business. Obviously, what you're doing there, you're advertising yourself. You're telling your potential employer that with all this, with all that I have, this is how much I'm going to benefit your business. Should you employ me, I'm going to do this and that and that and that. I'm going to, I'm gonna benefit, add value in the business, so much and so much and so much. So, in a nutshell, that's how you answer that question. That question, tell us about yourself. You're not there to tell them about your kids, that you married to, one husband or one wife, whatever. They're not interested in that. Let me just be a bit hard on that one. They're not interested in that. Now, when you're comfortable with tell us about yourself, then you need to switch to the other side, and the other side is actually where you're looking at the other questions in the interview. And I know that many companies, they employ the scenario based questions. They're going to give you a certain scenario. They want you to tell them how would you respond in that scenario or in that case or situation. So they're going to give you examples like for instance, let's say for instance you're given you have a report that you're supposed to submit today, and then there are stakeholders that are saying they are going to be late in submitting the inputs, and they want to know how are you going to handle such a situation and all that. Or maybe let's say for instance you were in a fight with someone at work, you had a disagreement with the other person at work, and they just want to know how you're going to resolve that situation, like conflict management scenarios. So many companies I know, they employ the scenario based questions. They ask you to tell them about yourself, and then they go to the scenario based questions where they just want to know how you respond to certain situations. So you also need to prepare a couple of examples in there that are going to help you elaborate on how you would have managed these different situations that they're going to be asking you to tell them about. Now, in your preparations, make it a point that you put together a couple of questions for them, because they're going to ask you if you have any questions. And that is the time to show that you are a finance analyst. That is the time, to show that you really understand, this field that you are in. You're going to ask about, the margins, of the business, the profitability, ask about revenue and all those things, all these, things that are around, driving the business. You want to show them that you really understand what you are being interviewed for, and you want to add value. You want to understand the business, because I always say you will never add value in any business unless you understand what the business is offering. You understand the strategy. Just put it simple. When you understand the strategy, you are able to then add value to the business. So your questions must be around that. They must be centered around that. And then some other questions, it might just be questions where you want clarity on minor things and all that, which are not so fundamental. And then the fourth part of the interview, now you've done the preparations. It is actually that day, the day where you have to go and present whatever that you have prepared. No, you are anxious, you are shaken, you're sweating and all that. But one thing I need to say to you, make it a point that you are early. Why do you have to be early in an interview? More than being late would give a bad representation, but it's just it works against you. It works against you in the sense that when you're late, you get there, you are in a rush, you're just a mess, and you're just fumbling and all that, and you just, your mind is not there. You are just disrupted now. So when you're early, you get there like an hour before, 30 minutes before, 15 minutes before. You sit there, and then they're gonna offer you a cup of coffee, some water, and then that is a way of calming your nerves. So being early, it works to have advantage. So you always have to be early for an interview. Don't be late. Do not be late. It messes things up. I mean, like if you're really serious of getting that job, you'll make it a point that even if you have to wake up at 6 and get there like an hour before, as long as you're gonna be early, that's the most important thing. And then the other thing about the interview is your posture, the way you sit. Show that professionalism. Don't sit like you're tired or sit like you're owning the place. You're not the owner there. You're not the boss there. You are there for an interview. You need to be professional. Show that confidence. Even the way you shake. The handshake. It must be firm. It must be firm, but don't break someone's hand. But it must be firm. So obviously you're showing that confidence in all that you do as you going for your interview and all that. And then the last thing is just to answer all the questions. But obviously I think one of the things that I need to mention is that when you're answering questions, you must don't take like 10 minutes. They mustn't cut you, because when they cut you, it shows that you are dragging. Make it a point that you give a short answer, but that short answer, it must you must hit the fundamentals and then stop. Hit the fundamentals and then stop. Ensure that you respond to the question that's being asked. Don't answer everything in this world. Respond to the question that is being asked to you. Asked you to respond to, and I mean, like if you do that, then obviously the interview is gonna go on smoothly, and so I think those are the fundamentals. I'm not going to talk about the stuff that you need to wear, and you obviously going to wear like smart in an interview. It's an interview. I'm not going to. I just want to talk about the fundamentals, the real things that I know many people struggle with when they go for interviews and all that. And obviously this is part number two. Part number two, where we're dealing with interviews. And then the other part is going to be on assessments. How to get ready for assessments. That will be our part number 3.